Welcome to episode 10 of the Rising Phoenix podcast. I'm your host, Chase Strasser. In today's episode, I'm joined by Aaron Mellette. Aaron is a former Elon football star and two-time consensus AP first-team All-American. He racked up over 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns during his time in the maroon and gold. Aaron would go on to be drafted in the 7th round of the 2013 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Ravens. Eventually, Aaron returned to Elon to serve as Assistant Director of Student Athlete Services. It was great getting to sit down with Aaron and learn about his journey. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rising Phoenix podcast. Today I'm joined by Elon alum and now current Elon employee, Aaron Mellette. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Oh, man, Chase, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for having me on your platform with what y'all doing with Rising Phoenix. Definitely dope, man.
So we always like to start at the beginning. When did you discover your passion for sports, athletics, in your case, football, and what was the journey from that beginning to high school?
I would say my love for sports probably came when I was a kid. Especially my dad's side of the family was all into sports. I started out as a baseball kid, loved baseball and basketball. Football was just like something I did for fun at church events in the backyard or something like that. But I was all basketball and baseball as a kid. I just knew I was going to go to the NBA at one point in time. I wanted to be 6 foot at one point, like Allen Iverson, but MJ was my favorite player all time. But when I got to high school, I started looking at that landscape into where could I get a scholarship possibly to play. And when the math is mathing, you realize that it's more football scholarships to go around than there is basketball scholarships, no matter if it's, between Division I, Division II, like the roster size. It just only makes sense that you'll get a better chance for football. And so then I went out for my high school football team. In the first year, I played safety on the JV football team. Was not yet a receiver, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I love hitting people. I was a big Ed Reed fan, so like hitting people, getting interceptions, like that was my thing. But then the following year, my junior year of high school, is when I switched to receiver, and then obviously that rest became history, and it provided me a chance with that regime under Coach Limbo to give me a chance to come to Elon and play football.
So could you describe that recruiting process from the moment Elon reached out to touring the campus? And I don't want to age you, but what did campus look like back in the day, and what kind of drew you to Elon in the first place?
I would say the process was interesting because nobody in my family other than my older cousin, she's a volleyball player, had got recruited to play sports that I knew as far as between my cousins. So it was new to, especially with football. Like nobody in my family played football to like the extent that I've played it in high school and to actually gain attention from colleges. So it was new for everybody. I just knew I was going to the ACC. Like the Canes, Miami Hurricanes was where I was like, I'm going to the U. That's all I knew at that time. As you can see how old I am because the U was very prominent in the early 2000s. But so that whole process was cool. Like my then coach, assistant coach, Coach, God, I'm blanking his name. He'll destroy me if I can't remember his name. But my OC at the time, he reached out to send videos out to a bunch of different colleges from FCS level to FBS. Elon at the time was very interested. Coach Limbo, I think, was going into his second year. He was 07, so he would have been going to his second year. And so he sent his recruiting coordinator down, Scott Brown, to come see me. They came watch me practice, which was pretty cool. But like I said, my sights were set on something higher. But then when you get to that recruiting process, you really start finding out who really likes you because – and this obviously this day and age money talks. When by money I mean scholarships at that time. So if somebody's not offering you no scholarship, like you really know maybe they're not interested. And I was a person that I couldn't afford to go to Elon University at that time without like some type of scholarship. But when I came to campus, I felt at home. By that time, like, taking us back through the time machine of 2008, Comm Building. I guess the Comm Building that's right beside us. That didn't exist. McCune was not a dining hall. It was had a dining hall upstairs, but we had a sports bar called Varsity in there, which is pretty dope because you can sit back in recliner chairs and watch ESPN. It was like a sports bar just dedicated to Elon Athletic, paraphernalia in there, so like you could just see stuff. It was pretty cool. Best eating spot on campus, in my opinion. Colonnades, I guess what y'all call Clohan now, was brand spanking new, basically. Lakeside didn't exist. We had Octagon in Mosley, which we had Chick-fil-A in there. We had like an Italian spot, a fresh burger joint. So it was definitely, I think it was better just because we had Chick-fil-A on campus. You didn't have to travel nowhere for it. And it was just like a hangout spot, kind of like what it is now, but it was just more of a hangout spot. But obviously what y'all got now is pretty cool. So the global area did not exist. That was the old school residence areas of Hardin, Chandler, Moffitt, like all that was there. And Hardin Dining Hall was in their place where we used to have our fried chicken Thursdays. So it was definitely like it allured to me, but it's like when I got seated class, it's like, 30 people in the class. That's kind of what I'm used to now in my high school. I don't think I would have thrived in an environment when it's 200, 300 people in the classroom, just from the standpoint of academics was second on my agenda and athletics was first. And also I know y'all had Dr. Walker on here. Academics was first on his agenda. So you can clearly see, like, I probably wouldn't have went to class if it was 200 people. Like, that's just reality at that time. But yeah, so I just love this campus, and I came back to this campus more than any other campus when I was going through that process. It's just like, man, I just love being here. I just felt at home, and that's obviously one of Elon's marketing sticking points. Is like you feel at home when you come here, because once you get here, it's like you're not going to want to leave this place. So that's why I would attain to that feeling at home.
Well, I feel like we're missing out on a few things. One, fried chicken Thursday. I feel like we need to bring that back. But the sports bar in the bottom of McEwen, I cannot imagine.
Man, the fried chicken Thursdays definitely should come back. I mean, it was just, we knew where we were going to go on Thursdays to eat dinner. Like, we were going to get some fried chicken. But the varsity was the greatest thing. I mean, you'll go in there, you get seated at a table, come take your order. You can get a Philly cheesesteak, chicken Philly cheesesteak, chicken wings, whatever flavor you want, fries, seasoned fries at that point. It was the best. I think at some point they added hummus dip and stuff like that, but just a recliner, a big screen TV in the middle of the day, like you can just sit back and watch sports all day. So I've seen people go in there taking naps, and it was all for, like, at that time, just one swipe. So one swipe can get you like 6 wings and an order of fries and a drink. So like it was a true meal. But obviously I think when they start looking at the economics of stuff, like people spending more time in other food places versus the dining halls, you're gonna skew it. So people go to the dining halls as those employees are working hard and preparing food. But yeah, between that and like even Sunset Strips was in McEwen as well, which is you can get nachos or tacos just on a random Wednesday to go, and it was the best thing, I tell you. Y'all missing out. Y'all got it good now because these dining halls are far superior than what we had. But we had the side stuff. Oh man, varsity is gonna top everything.
Man. Now I feel like I'm missing out. But moving on, just your time on the Elon football team, you mentioned that Dr. Walker was on here as well. He was your teammate at the time. Do you have any good memories? You were recognized as one of the best players in not only the conference, but in FCS. Is there anything that sticks out to you accomplishment-wise or memory-wise during your 4 years on the team?
I'll start with the Dr. Walker part. I'm sorry, botched his name. The D-line was something different back then. And when I first got here, I got put on scout team as I got redshirted in 2008. The D-line is where I garnered the strength to be in any adverse conditions, because they would just beat me up per se. Like they was like they just beat me up, not because I did something wrong, it was because I was embarrassing them on scout team. So they took it out on me, like, you know what, this is not gonna happen, you little scrawny freshman. And with Dr. Walker, like at that time, like I didn't really interact with him early on, just because like you get here, you stick mostly with your position group and the guys in the summertime. But like, as time went on, we became friends. You become boys, and then he becomes somebody that he sees you as somebody you can depend on. And so with any sports team, especially with football, like once you get the veterans' respect, everything changes. They treat you different. They can depend on you. And so fast forwarding from 2008 to 2010, when Terrell Hudgens left, I stepped in our receiving course kind of young. Got Sean Jeffcoat, who's a senior, myself, who's a redshirt sophomore. We got bunch of other guys who's true sophomores or redshirt freshmen. So it was a battle at receiver. Like, most people don't know this. Like, when I was coming into that camp that fall, like, I wasn't the starter. I was basically second string. One of the younger receivers has passed me up in spring ball. And so I just remember him doing that kind of just pushed me to another level of my competitor inside me. And so I took myself way more serious that summer, what I was doing and prepping, because I was like, this is my time. This is why I came here. Like, I don't know, we can go back to the recruiting process, but like, I don't know if nowadays most of the young athletes, when they come here, if they even look at the record books. But like, I had Terrell Hudgens here when I was here. He's one of the probably top 5 best Elon athletes since 2000 that has stepped foot on this campus. But I was looking at him like, I'm going to be here at the same time as this guy. I'm going to break every single record, which I told the offensive coordinator at the time doing my recruiting process. And I told Terrell, like, yo, I'm going to break every single thing you put on these marks. And I was here with him. So it's like, how you going to do that? Because you're probably not going to get the ball at the time. But that's what fueled me in 2010 is just my level of wanting to be great as an individual and then let that pour into team success. So I just remember 2010, like, we go to Richmond, and that was the game I think I garnered all my teammates' respect from the upperclassmen, because everybody kept talking about was who's going to be the next Terrell, who's going to be the next Terrell. And in 2010, we go to Richmond. We're ranked. They're ranked. We got Scott Riddle. They got some quarterback that transferred from USC, I think. I think Mike London was their coach as well. And I just remember their DBs were talking so much trash. Oh, we're going to have more catches than their receivers. And that's all I needed. And once we got out there and I just basically get embarrassed their defensive secondary, and then everybody was like, you know what? They come up with my first thing. It's like, yo, Merle, I can rock with you. And that's what you get to as an athlete. Like, that's what you want, the respect of the veterans, because you show it in your play. It's not really what you do in practice and what you do in the weight room. And, you can be the best film study person, but if it comes down to when you go on that field and you can't execute, I can't trust you to get the job done. And my mom, I'm like, you're good at just what you are, but like, it all matters on game day, what you do on game day, because that's the performance that we do all this preparation for. And so the guys love me then. I stopped getting beat up by the D-line. Now I become the person where 2010 goes by, we lose Scott, Kyrie, Dr. Walker's gone, like Sean is gone, a bunch of that guys, that D-line, they're gone, and we get a new head coach. We get a younger group of guys, and then I'm on even more of a mission to prove myself to be the best in the country. So, like, even after the 2010 season, I was named a second-team All-American, first-team All-Conference. But it's like I felt like I didn't have the respect nationally that I wanted. And so I was on edge from the get-go going into that season, like, you know what? I'm about to do something nobody's seen. And unfortunately, we had some injuries to two of my good buddies during training camp of 2011, but that just had me ready to go, because when we get to Vanderbilt 2011, like, I think that's when the new coaching staff and probably everybody on campus was like, well, we got a young man that's like, he's on a different level. When you go to Vanderbilt, SEC, something probably like Terrell did when he played USF, like, this dude is different. And then, like, to me, I like the rest was history, because I go out there, break one of Terrell's records, ties like some other records. And I was just on a heater, I would say, with a bad ankle for like 8 games of the season, which most people don't know. I played that whole season, 8 of those games with a high ankle sprain. So I was barely practicing, but I would go play. And I was still doing what I was doing. And I just remember, like, one of my fondest memories, my academic advisor at the time telling me, you could be a little more humble. But I'm like, Casey, I call her, like, see, why you say that? Like, I can go to sleep and wake up and know I'm going to get 150 yards receiving. Like, that's just my confidence level. Is like, I'm unstoppable on a bad ankle. And if I didn't have a bad ankle, I probably would have dropped 2,000 yards receiving that season, because I was just that locked in. And most people, I remember my receiver coach would be like, you know what, we got you. You're a diamond in the rough. You probably should be an FBS kid. And I just happened to be an FCS because my school was little. We ran a triple option. I didn't really know, but Elon fit me, and it worked out for me. Like, can't bid it. And I become an AP consensus All-American. And I think that's when I finally had the respect I wanted personally. Like, nobody can say I'm not the best at my level, because I'm clearly am the best. That's how I felt.
Is there receiver is a very notable position on the field. Is there any part of your game or part of the receiver position that kind of goes under the radar?
I guess I would say run blocking. Most people don't know. But, like, that's what you got to do, like, especially when you get to the NFL. Like, if you don't run block, you're not getting on the field, because it's an integral part of the game. Because if they get a a rabbit or bird call on you, which they know if it's a run or a pass. Like, if they know you're not going to block and they know your stance is different from a runs call standpoint, they got you all day because we're figuring out every single thing. So I'll say that's the part that most people probably don't realize. Like, man, receivers do a lot of blocking, especially if like in a run-heavy offense or a balanced offense. But I would say just the perfection of our craft. Not saying no other position is easier or, I know some other positions could possibly be harder. But it's like, man, we have to be so precise on what we're doing. If you can't get off a jam on the line, you're not getting the ball. Man, if you can't beat man-to-man coverage, you're never getting the ball. And you just have to perfect that so much. You have to be obsessed with it. And then it's a lot like crossovers in basketball. Like, how can I get this person to shift left or right like I want them just to get by, just to create an ounce of separation for a split second for a pass to barely get threaded through there. So, I mean, that's the part, like the run blocking and just the precision when it comes to making a cut in a route, because one rounded route, that's a pick, that's an interception, and then that could be a game changer, which I've seen that when my time here. I called some interceptions, like in 2009 with App, I called the interception for one of the biggest, probably the biggest game in school history, in my opinion, when App State came here for the conference championship in 2009. Like, I felt bad, but like that's stuff that you can see now, almost 20 years later, like it still sticks in my head because I recall on those moments. Because that's just part of my journey to help fuel me to become the dude I was in 2010, 2011, and 2012.
Yeah, moving into 2012, towards your end of your Elon career, you talked about starting to get some of that national recognition. When did the talk start of, hey, there's the possibility of the NFL and the draft?
Oh, man. I guess because NFL, they really only scout the coming graduating class that's coming up. So I guess after the 2011 season, App State had a receiver named Brian Quick. I think he became the first pick in the second round. So day 2 of the draft, he was the first person selected by the St. Louis Rams. And obviously, when people see that, App State at that time was an FCS school, one of our rivals, though we never beat them, but I still would consider him a rival. And people compare, like, he was FCS. I was FCS. He was 6'5". I'm like 6'3". Maybe I was faster than him. He jumped higher than me. But it's like, okay, here's this kid, this young man that went first in the second round pick of that draft, which I think he would have had like Alshon Jeffrey. Like, it was some notable guys he went in front of, and Alshon Jeffrey was a beast out of South Carolina. And so all that helped me out because here goes the scouts. Like, they like to make comparisons. You make comps. All the people knew is I remember I was doing my internship at baseball, and one of my teammates told me that. I was like, man, it's like Merle, you should have left. You should have went. If he got drafted in the second round, you should have definitely left because you probably got drafted early in the second round as well because you were better than him. And so obviously I was like, oh, that's crazy. But then the scouts look at that as like, hey, there's a kid in the same conference that was better than him when it comes to stats and influence and how he plays the position. And so with that, I remember I would look at that stuff. Like, I was the 86th ranked senior receiver. And then after that 2011 season, I was like 46. I jumped to like 46. But when he went second, I went from 46 all the way up to being the number 2 ranked senior receiver in the country, not counting underclassmen, in the country for the upcoming 2013 draft. So that means I'm above guys at the FBS. I think it might have just been, I think Terrence Williams from Baylor. I think that's his name. Terrence Williams from Baylor might have been the only person at that time that was ahead of me going into the 2012 season. So, like, you can imagine, like, what that looked like. It became a whole lot different with NFL scouts just popping in the summertime and then coming to see me practice, coming to watch. I mean, Mel Kiper tweeted about me, and then the university got a hold of it, which I'm like, yo, I know Mel Kiper. Like, he tweeted about me. Like, this is crazy. He's going to be laying eyes on me for the UNC game. Start the season. And I'm just like, man, this is wild. And I, at that time, like, how do you handle that? Obviously social media wasn't as big. Like, Instagram, I don't think was huge. Twitter was just really getting started. So, I mean, he tweeted about you. That's the biggest thing in the world. And I guess now it'd be like somebody made a reel about you or a TikTok that makes it even bigger. But it's just like, man, this is pretty cool. Because even from my predecessors, from that I was around, so even from, Chad King, who was a draft pick, and even between Terrell and Scott, who, two names that are on the side of the wall, like, they didn't even get this same attention when it came to. And as great as Terrell was, like, Terrell wasn't I don't think Terrell was ever ranked as the number 2 receiver in the country. Like, he didn't have a first-round draft grade or second-round draft grade beside his name at any point in time. So I was just like, wow. And then obviously back home in Sanford, family members eating it up. It's like, we going to the league. And I'm like, yeah, we going to the league. And it's on my mind, anything that was messing up me getting my chance to go to the league and produce, I didn't want to deal nothing with it. And so, because I'm like, the pressure is mounting, but for me, like, it didn't bother me because when the lights got as brightest and when it was time to play, like, I'm ready to go play. But I was on even more edge. Like, that summer, I didn't really work out with the team. I was working out on my own, going to train with some guys that my uncle knew who was in the NFL. So I trained with some NFL players from the Philadelphia Eagles, I was ready to quit after one day of training with them. I was like, this is what this looked like? Oh, God, this is not it. I don't want to do this. It was the wildest experience. But when I got back, like, the team had been bonding and stuff, but here I am, I'm on my own path and journey because, like, for me, I got money on the line. No matter what I do, I got money on the line. And I'll never forget, I came back that summer and I got kicked out. Most people know I got kicked out of a workout session because I barked back at a freshman on the team. One of my buddies, he was a redshirt freshman. I barked back at him because we had got a new strength coach. So he didn't know me. I hadn't been around. So, people probably feel some kind of way like, yo, why you not here training? Why you doing your own thing? I want to, train you and stuff like that because you got potential to go to the league. So everybody wants to kind of be connected. And I was just like, dude, I remember I come back. I was like, man, you going to let him talk to me however you want to? And he was like, I was like, nah, you can't say nothing to me. I told him, I said, yo, you're a freshman All-American. Like, you can't say nothing to me. I'm a consensus All-American. Like, I'm the top of this food chain, and I know, like, I'm going to get the job done. It's like, whatever else, I'm just thinking, y'all be ready because I'm going to be ready. Don't worry about it. And then I remember he kicked me out. I was like, crap. Because that's not my MO. Like, I'm just a competitive person. I don't like to be disrespected, which nobody wants. But I'm the type of person, like, if you haven't earned the stature to talk to me in a certain kind of way, like, don't do that. Even if you're trying to be a leader. Like, I came in, there's levels to leadership. Like, I knew I couldn't talk to Terrell or Scott any kind of way because I haven't earned nothing. I hadn't earned a merit. I don't care if you're a freshman All-American. What that mean? That means nothing to me. AP All-American, as my advisor Casey would tell me, only the AP All-American matter because that's the one that gets put on the wall. That's what stays with you. Not all these sports journalists or people in their bottom of their basement just making All-American teams. No, AP is Associated Press. That's the one that everybody cares for. And so, but I did have guys on the team that was leaders. Like, he's like, yo, Merle, you was wrong. I'm like, you right. My fault. Or if I was like looking like my hands on my knees after conditioning, hey, get your hands off your knees, Merle. You right. I got it. I got to be ready to go. Because I hadn't been there. And so that was a moment for me just to grow as a leader, like, not how to act that way. Which me and him are still good friends to this day. Like, if I was to see Spain, like, I'd like, hey, man, what's up, Spain? How you doing, brother? Like, but it was just in those moments, like, but that's where my mind was at. Like, I got money on the line, but, like, I'm trying to win a conference championship. I'm trying to be conference player of the year. And then I'm also chasing record books. Like, I knew how many yards I need. I knew how many touchdowns I needed to move in the second behind Terrell or to surpass Terrell. And so I'm like, are we going to do everything in our power as an offense and as a team to win? Are we winning? If I had to sacrifice stats because we're winning, I'm cool with it. But if we losing and we not doing what we doing last year that I felt that we were successful, like most people, we're gonna have a problem because why are we not replicating what was successful last year? And so it was just a different mindset. And the NFL played a whole part in it because, like I said, I got money on the line, and I knew like this was coming to an end for some of my brothers on that team, but I had a chance to keep it going, and I know they had a chance to gravitate with me, and they could live through me with the NFL stuff, and I just wanted to win more than anything. If you don't want to win and you don't want to be the best at what you're doing, it's going to be hard for me and you to get along when it comes down to it because my mindset is going to be one of those where it's like, how competitive are you? Are you willing to sacrifice what you got to sacrifice in order to be at the mountaintop? Which is cool. It's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't want to be the best at what they want to do. Some people just want to be very good. But if you want to be the top female in whatever sport you do, you want to be the top male, whatever sport you do, it comes with sacrifice and it comes with a level of competitive selfishness in order to make that happen because you have to be willing to sacrifice more than what everybody else was willing to sacrifice. Like I told you earlier, like I played more than 8 games on the season on a bad ankle. That's me putting my body on the line to go play a game for my teammates because we only had like 5 or 6 receivers that was available. I didn't have to do that. I could have said I was ankle sprain, but what would history remember? They're not going to remember my name. I would have never had an AP All-American season if I would have sat out. What does that do for me? Doesn't do nothing. So I want to go play. I want to play.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but the JJ Redick LeBron, one of their new podcasts, they talk about the exact same thing, that competitive selfishness that is needed to be great at whatever they do. And I was going to ask, when it came time for the draft, and you touched on this, it was the competitive spirit that took over. The weight of the future, it was a factor, but it was more so pushing you forward.
Yeah, and that's really what it was, because I had a chance in my own hometown to be an athlete from my hometown to be drafted. Nobody had done that, I think, probably since the 1980s that I knew of growing up. So it was like I was a budding star in my city and the light to be able to show, young men and women, like, it's possible to get out of certain surroundings and become successful and do it on the highest level, and without having to resort to doing anything negative or something that's going to bring shame to your name or to your family's name. So that's what I was trying to do for the city. And even for Elon, like, I was trying to, I'm putting Elon on the map. I got Mel Kiper tweeting about me, which nothing. I don't think Scott Terrell ever had Mel Kiper tweeting about him. Like I said, they was never, I don't think it's ranked as high as me as a prospect, but they're all-time greats. Their name is on the side of the wall. My name is not, which is another thing I can't stand. Like, I want to be with them on that wall because I feel like I deserved it and earned it, but that's up to the powers that be. But it's like, I put in the city on, I'm helping Elon do certain things. They put me on a billboard. Like, I'm helping bring in notoriety, recognition, because I love this university, because this university gave me a way to get education. So if my play and my star ability at the FCS level helps garner attention on a national level when it gets to the NFL, I'm grateful for that, because I don't think I could ever donate enough money back to truly show Elon how much I appreciated him. They probably would tell me they want more of my money, but that's just, just what it is. But it's like, I can give you a free advertising, because anytime somebody says, and when I go to the combine, oh, this is Aaron Mellette from Elon University. People watch the combine all the time. People's kids watch the combine all the time. Where's Elon University? Oh, let me Google that. I go to the Senior Bowl. I'm wearing my Elon University helmet with my decal. Like, where's Elon University? People ask me, where's Elon? Like, it's in North Carolina. Oh, how far is that from Duke or NC State or Chapel Hill? It's 40 minutes the other way going towards, Charlotte. Oh, so it's in Charlotte? Nah, it's beside Greensboro. So trying to figure out just where it is. But yeah, it was just a blessing with all that stuff. But yeah, that competitive nature, it just drove me madness, because if you go look at the stats, like, we got smacked by Carolina that year 70-0. I had never been so pissed in my life. One, I hate Carolina because I was a Duke fan my whole life, so I can't stand Carolina. But Carolina has some dudes that got drafted. Like, I went to the Senior Bowl with one of their D linemen, I think Sylvester. He was drafted, I think, first round. Trey Boston was the safety for them at the time. So, like, they had some dudes, and it's like, I go to this first game of the season. I'm going to show you else where my mind was at. Like, during training camp, if we called a play in the huddle and, like, it didn't work, I took it upon myself to change the play, because I was like, my quarterback, Thomas Wilson, I was like, no, I'm doing a pop. I'm running a post. Like, they're sitting on this. I don't care. Did it. Coach, offensive coordinator, fuss me out. What you doing? Don't change the plays. I'm like, bro, they're sitting on this, but I'm trying to win. Like, what we doing ain't working. I don't care if it is training camp. Like, I need these DBs to be ready to go, because I'm coming at them full miles per hour. I got NFL scouts watching me. I got them asking me to solve a Rubik's Cube for them. Like, I'm on one. Like, I'm trying to go to war. And so, like, and then we get to Carolina. We get out there. We got our full arsenal of receivers with my boys, and we no injuries. But then it's like, the way we was calling plays the year before, we wasn't doing it again this way. Which I agree. We had less injuries, so we had more talent available. But I was playing all 4 receiver spots the year before. Now I'm just playing on the edge. Any receiver knows you playing on the edge, it's easier to get double teamed. Which Carolina basically was running like a double team, where the corner was just sitting inside and they had the safety over the top. I can't do much with that. But this is my moment, because this is where Mel Kiper is like, I can't wait to see what Aaron Mellette does in this game. Now, it doesn't help. I switched contacts that day with my eye doctor, so my depth perception was all, a ball hits me in the middle of the face because I couldn't tell how fast it was traveling. Like, it doesn't help, because I'm like, crap, if I had one of my old contacts, I catch that, I'm off to the races. The corner ain't catching me. I'm out. I'm gone. Like, that's a 70-yard touchdown. Game changes. And that might have been the one play I need to solidify. I need to be a first-round draft pick. But that doesn't happen. The ball bounces off my face. You know, the rest of history, I slide to the later rounds, but still I go to the combine. I still go to the Senior Bowl. I go train with some other top guys around the SEC. But, like, everything happens for a reason. But it's like, shoot, I got drafted. Who cares? I was for Elon University. I got drafted. I'm one of 3 in the last decade, a decade plus from Chad Inc. 2006 to now. Me, Chad Inc. I think Oli was the only other person. The last 3 draft picks we've had. Like, I'm with it. Cool. It is what it is. But it's like, I needed that validation because I'll never forget. I go to the symposium and we sitting around in a room, like a bigger room than this, but we're like, I was like, I need that validation because, like, did everything I do account for me to get drafted? Because I could have did all that and not got drafted, and then what would that did to my psyche? Like, I'd be like, dang it, was it worth it? Like, how can I be the best at my level and then the NFL still doesn't think I'm good enough? Like, that's a real thing. So it's tough, but it's like, but I'm just wired to be as competitive. But I need to check out that LeBron and JJ podcast because LeBron is one of my favorite athletes and JJ being a dude guy. So it's one of those things I got to check out. But I mean, but you can see it, like, we're all wired about the same. I don't think nobody's wired as Michael Jordan was wired with the Last Dance documentary. But, like, I watched him growing up, and that's where I'm like, that's where my assassination mentality came from because I was a huge Jordan guy. Like, I'm going to embarrass you before you embarrass me in front of my mama. But I've gotten embarrassed in front of my mama on the football field. Don't get it twisted. But it's like, I'm going to make it more times than not you, then it's going to be me.
Well, you mentioned it, and we'll talk about it now. You were drafted in the 2013 draft by the Baltimore Ravens. You finally get to the league. One, what does draft day look like? And then training camp and your time in the league.
Draft, you know what? Draft looks totally different for a lot of people. If I know I'm gonna be a day one guy, I just got to get through a night where, hey, at some point my name's gonna get called. You know, which I was like, crap, I don't think I'm gonna be a first round pick. But I'm like, shoot, I wouldn't mind it if I am. Maybe the Cowboys will call my name. But the day, I think I remember that process. It was just, man, it was just cool and different. Like, cause you see, I watched it as a kid on TV. Like, as a young man in college, like, you watch it every year. It's a whole event, especially the first 2 days. I never really watched day 3 of the draft. Like, most people probably don't watch day 3 of the draft unless you have somebody that might be a day 3 guy. So I've only watched the Thursday and the Friday, never watched Saturday. And so when I get through that, we get to the first round. Like, I know I'm not going to be a first round pick because my agent's been talking to me. But he's like, hey, you know, you might be right now. We're hearing like maybe 2nd through 4th round. But it just depends what positions of the draft starts flying off the board. So if one position starts flying off faster than others, those position group guys are going to start flying off faster because the talent pool is going to get drained faster. And so in my class, the receiver pool really didn't move the needle. I think we had maybe 2 first-round picks that year as a receiver, Tavon Austin. And I think Cordell Patterson was the other first-round receiver. I could be wrong. Oh, and then D-Hop. I think so. I think it was 3. And so you get to day 2. We're at my uncle's house, and we got a little cookout, a bunch of friends, mostly family, some close friends, and just sitting around, just listening and watching, waiting to hear my name called. My name doesn't get called day 2. Oh my God, I was just so distraught. I drove away. I drove to a park in my hometown. I sat there and cried tears like a big old baby because I was like, I just knew I was going to be a day 2 guy. So now day 3 begins. Day 3 begins at noon, 12 o'clock. So we go back to my uncle's house again. We throw a big old cookout party. I think E&N actually came. Naima came down, and some of the guys, journalists for they came down, spent the day with me because they did a story early in the year about me as well. And so some of my teammates, about 4 or 5 of my teammates came. We was cooking out, grilling all day. But day 3 of the draft is probably the longest day. Was one of the longest days of my life. Rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. And all I'm doing is, remember, the camera's on me. I'm just sitting around TV. Like, man, I really want to play some NCAA right now. But I got to be on standby just in case my phone rings. Round 4 goes by, it doesn't happen. Round 5 goes by, it doesn't happen. Round 6 gets here, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get some phone calls. But it wasn't phone calls I'm about to get drafted. It was phone calls like, hey, we're looking at you. We're thinking about taking you. Just be on the lookout. Round 6 goes by. No, the people that call me, it doesn't happen. So I'm just like, man, like, what's going on? Like, and I'm not really talking to my agents. My family and stuff can just sense how, like, I'm just, like, kind of over the draft at this point in time because I should have been drafted is the way I was thinking. But then round 7 comes, I start getting more phone calls. But it's like they're not calling to draft me. They're calling to say, hey, well, if you don't get drafted, we would like to bring you in as a free agent, a priority free agent. That happened with Carolina, the Panthers. I remember them calling me. I remember my Senior Bowl coaches had called me, which was the Raiders. So that coach, Fillmore called me, I believe. I think I botched his name. But it's like, but then I get a call from Ozzy. But by the time I get a call from Ozzy, I'm upstairs in basically my uncle and aunt's attic, just chilling by myself, because they have a whole nother separate room of their TV. So I was just chilling by myself. I get a call from a 410 number, and I answer, and he's like, "Hey, this Aaron?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, who's calling?" He's like, "Yeah, this is Ozzy Newsom from the Ravens." I was like, "Nah, you lying. This ain't you." He's like, and he said, "Is this a 410 area code?" I was looked at my phone, I was like, "Oh, yeah, it is." He said, "Yeah, it's me." And so he told me, he said, "Hey, man, we about to draft you." And I was just like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, we about to draft you." And so I'm on the phone with him, and I run back down 3 flights of stairs back to the living room where everybody's at. And I was like, "Yo, y'all got to get to the TV. And it was like, "What's happening?" And I'm thinking, I shot these commercials at the NFL Combine. So I'm about to see my face in the commercial like I'm tossing the ball in the air come up. But it's like, oh, none of that happens. Like, they only show my highlights on the TV, but all I see is my name come across the screen. Dog, you talking about one of the dopest moments of my life, and everybody just goes, it was just straight pandemonium. Ozzy's still on the phone, can't hear nothing he's saying, but it was just straight pandemonium, because like, man, it happened. Even like, so I would say that feeling, if I would have got drafted in the first round, it would have still felt the same way as me getting drafted in the second round, because like, you do something only, I think 200 and something picks in the draft. I can't remember, because they do all those compensating picks that they just fill in. But like, I'm one of 200 and something people in this year's draft class who got drafted. I was one of like 300 people that got invited to the combine. I was one of 80 guys that got drafted to the Senior Bowl, and I'm from little Elon University. So it's like, it was the best feeling. I probably could have died and went to heaven that day, and I would have been totally fine. Like, thank you, God. Like, I achieved something. But it was a long day, and it was just like, when I got my name called in the 7th round, which is probably like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, it didn't even matter that I had to wait 3 days, and I had to wait through 7 rounds to hear my name called. I seen some other people's name get called before me, and I felt some kind of way like, oh, they ain't better than me. This DB got drafted before me? No way. I cooked him. Like, there's no way. He should be going faster. But it's like, obviously, it's position needs and team needs. But it's like, that one moment is like, everything just goes into that moment. And everybody that you got there with you, your circle, your family and friends, like, they're just excited. We did a bunch of pictures and had to make a speech, which I hate giving speeches because I was terrible at public speaking at Elon. If anybody doesn't believe me, I would happily show you my public speaking transcript from Elon. It's not pretty. But it was just pure jubilation. But then after that, like, you get on the phone with Coach Harbs and like, hey, you're coming out here next week to start rookie minicamp. I was like, dang, I ain't got no time to I got time to enjoy this, because now everything changes. I'm a professional, like, I'm on their time. And that first week of rookie minicamp, oh my God, that was probably, I had never experienced 5 practices in 3 days of my life that was like an hour and a half long at the most, and no pads. I had pulled a hamstring, my toes and my feet were bruised from running routes so much. And I'm just like, what is going on? This is not what I'm used to, because like, I'm a football player, like, this stuff is just natural. But it's just like the intensity just picked up. And when you're at rookie minicamp, you're a drafted guy, you're there with other rookie free agents, you're there with tryout guys, you're there maybe like a second-year veteran. And it's like, you're drafted, so they're going to throw you in there, they're going to throw more at you, and you're expected to be better than who they brought in because you're drafted by your name. So thus it comes with expectations in rookie minicamp. But like, my expectation as a 7th round pick wasn't the same as Matt Elon, who was our 1st round pick, or Arthur Brown, who's our 2nd round pick, because Matt got a guaranteed roster spot. Anybody in rounds 4 through 7, those roster spots are not guaranteed. So even if you are drafted, for those who are listening, doesn't mean you're gonna make the team. Like, you're on building teams, like, you got to make it, and it's only one really guaranteed roster spot, which is a 1st round pick, because they got the most money invested in them. Now, obviously, you would think 2nd and 3rd round picks would probably make the team as well, but like, really, anything after 4 through 7, like, you're not guaranteed a spot. You got to go out there and compete and beat out veteran guys there, or other rookies that might be free agents there as well. So that was just a whole nother monster. But even when I got back, I could barely walk. But I tell you, it was the best 4 days of my life. I couldn't walk when I got back to camps. I had to go straight to the training room. I could barely walk. But it was like, this was amazing. But then I remember my agent calling me, "You pulled a hamstring?" "What do you mean you pulled a hamstring?" When you pull a hamstring, that means you're out of shape. You're not hurt. That means you haven't been running. That's how the NFL thinks. So when I see people now, kids now, I hear Elon, they got pulled hamstring, I'm like, oh, you ain't been running enough, because that's the level of expectation. So yeah. Man, hope that answered the question, Chase. Sorry, I can ramble, man. That stuff, it's just
okay.
wild, man. It's cool. I don't jog down memory lane that much, but it's cool to be able to jog down memory lane today with you.
Yeah. Well, moving through the rest of your NFL career, I saw somewhere that you also spent some time with the Jets as well. Going from the start after rookie training camp to the end, and then kind of having to figure out next steps after football was done, what was that like, especially for someone like you who is as competitive as you were?
It was tough, especially doing the rookie season in Baltimore. Like I had to have surgery after the third game of the season. Like I was dealing with knee swelling throughout all the training camp. So even me making a team and practicing was crazy because my knees were so swollen I could barely move, and I had to get my knees drained during camp. Missed time because I was dealing with stuff like I said I never dealt with before. But a lot of that because the intensity picked up. But then I learned like my cartilage in my knees was kind of just wearing out, which is crazy to believe because I never had that issue in college. But that's just what happens. But so I go from that, making the starting team, scoring a couple of touchdowns in the game against the Buccaneers, which I didn't think I was going to play. I dressed out, but I didn't think I was going to play at all because I could barely run and move. But I played, and that worked. And then I played again the next week against the Falcons. And then I'll never forget, then I played a whole lot versus the Panthers that year. Oh, my God. I was just I started cramping. I was like, God, bro, what is going on? Like, where the subs at? But it's at that time, NFL cuts, they cut down 75 after the third game of the preseason, so you got nobody. And then we go to St. Louis, which I see Brian Quick again in St. Louis because he's there for the second year. And he was like, man, I told the guys, wait till you get to the 2-minute drill, watch you go crazy, which I did. But, at that point, you thought there were 50 guys because the veteran guys who going to get ready for week one, they didn't even travel with us to St. Louis. But I ended up tearing my meniscus after the first game of the season. We played Denver, which I was inactive because I had still been dealing with knee swelling, didn't really know why. But I come back to a rehab and I felt something pop in my knee. Didn't really know what it was because I never had done anything in my knees before. But I come out to that practice that Monday after the Denver game and try to just run. I couldn't even run a hitch. My knee just buckled. So that's when I found out I had tore my meniscus. I had to go to Pensacola with Dr. Andrews. Had to have surgery. Got put on IR. I cried like a baby that day because I'm like, this is not it. It was supposed to be the Merle Nation takeover in Baltimore. Merle Nation, Elon, Elon is no longer Elon, it's Merle Nation. They did a whole Elon spread. That's what it was. And I was like, my confidence in competitors, it was about to be the same thing. I was about to, come in. I'm like, I'm about to take over this league because I know what I'm capable of. Once the confidence is there, it's nothing else nobody can do. Watch me go off. But then injury happened. I get on IR. All I do is lift and come in at 6 in the morning, lift weights, eat food, and I'm leaving by 12. And it was a mental mind game because I'm the type of person, if I'm not contributing to it, I really don't feel like I'm a part of it. And that's how I felt once it got to those parts of the season, the game. I wasn't there with my receivers. I was on crutches for a month. I wasn't around them. So it was tough. It was tough mentally. But then I get cut from there for many camps. I couldn't pass a physical, which nobody knew why. No doctors could tell me why I passed a physical. Then I go to the Jets. But before I even went to the Jets, I was about to get signed by the Detroit Lions of December of 2014. They was going to sign me to a futures deal because my old OC, Coach Caldwell, was the head coach, I believe, in Detroit at that time. So all I had to do was come in and pass the physical. They was going to sign me to a deal in December, in which another one of my teammates, Rodney Austin, was a free agent signing to Detroit. So he was already there. Megatron was probably my favorite receiver at that time. So I'm like, it's about to be Merle Nation and Megatron. It's game over. So I'm going to get to learn from the best in the game right now. But so I didn't happen, which most people don't even know about that one because I couldn't pass a physical. That's how bad it was. I didn't have to work out. I just literally had to pass a physical. Couldn't do it. My knee was just swollen from a flight. Go to the Jets for a week. That was a veteran mini camp where they bring in a bunch of veteran guys before a week before the draft or the week of the draft actually. And go through mini camp. And even with that, that was my first time being in organized football in almost 2 years, basically, a year and a half basically. And it was tough because I get there I'm just mostly standing around. Versus when I was in Baltimore, I was always on the move. I was always on the go. Baltimore had a certain way they ran their practices. The Jets have a different way they run their practices. So it's I'm mostly standing around. And it's New Jersey. I think it was in Morristown, New Jersey. It was more chilly in April than it was warm. So it's not like I'm out there in 80-degree weather and my body's just losing. No, we was out there practicing 55, 60-degree weather. My body's cold. And it's I'm trying to figure out how do you stay warm throughout a practice. I didn't really know that because all I knew in Baltimore was I'm always on the go. All I know in Elon is I'm always on the go. I'm not standing around. And I haven't stood around in probably 4 years by that time. I didn't know what that felt like anymore. And so, like, it was a good experience. I got my feet back wet in the NFL game. I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. But even then, like, my knees was, like, swole up. 'Cause as soon as I landed back in Sanford, because they didn't keep me, I took all my stuff except the helmet, which I regret not keeping my Jets helmet. But I didn't know you can keep them. Like, once the NFL issues a helmet, like, they won't give it back out to nobody else. I didn't know that. I was just basically a second, third-year player by that time. Like, who knows those rules? But I get back. As soon as I get back, I had to go see my dude I had been rehabbing with in Raleigh because my knees was just, like, so bad from just a week of practice. So I mentally went through it, trying to figure out what I do next with my life from 2015 to 2016. And at the same time, I faded out of the limelight, basically. And what I mean by that, like, I was on Elon star at that time for athletics. Like, I was a poster child for the athletic department. But it's like, once you're not doing that anymore, you're trying to figure out, like it just, like, slowly wanes away. Like, when I came back to Elon, people obviously still knew who I was. And, oh, hey, Merle, good to see you. Look, man, what's going on with football? So I was still trying to get back. So I'm still training, ready to go play. But it's like the opportunity never came. And then I went and worked out for Seattle in 2006 during training camp. 2016, I'm sorry, not 2006, 2016. And they was going to sign me, too, because I crushed the workout. It was between me and this kid, this is the receiver from App State. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely about to beat you out because ain't nobody from App State about to outwork me today. So I met Pete Carroll, which at that time Pete Carroll was just all I knew was Pete Carroll. I was like, yo, this is the dude that oversaw the USC Trojans from Southern Cal. Like, you had Reggie Bush. Like, you are the dude. Like, you're Pete Carroll. So I was oh, starstruck a bit. But it's like they was going to sign me. Couldn't pass another physical in 2016. So I was like, I had called my mom, my agent at the time hit me. He's like, hey, man, congrats, you did it. They're about to sign you for training camp. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm about to team up with Russell Wilson in this Legion of Boom squad, see what it's all about. And I texted my mom, like, yeah, I finally did it. I'm back. Just to go through the process of meeting with the medical staff, and then they're taking me to the airport, and I don't know why. Then I found out because I passed my physical. Because my agent's like, I was like, yo, what happened? Like, I thought I was about to be in Seattle. Nah, man, they couldn't pass your physical because your knees. I was like, it's a mind game. It's just like, whoa, what happens? And now I fell into depression, and obviously depression looks differently for people. Especially me. I got a Christian background, so I was still going to church. I was still serving in my church and stuff, smiling. But the number one thing I started realizing, I kept hating people ask me, when you going back to the NFL? My mom would always ask me, when you gonna go back? Who's calling? I'm like, please stop asking me. I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. 2016, 2017, please stop asking me. I moved to Charlotte, tried to start the second phase of my life with one of my old teammates, moved in with him, got into sales. His aunt helped me build a resume because my resume was just being an athlete. I had no work experience other than a ticketed internship. So that was the part, like, how do you find yourself? Any athlete, like they say, every athlete dies twice, which is true. You lose the athletic component because it goes away. It's either it can go away because it's forced to go away or because I stepped away from the game. Mine was more so, it wasn't that I wasn't talented enough. My body just failed me. And that's probably more times than not with most athletes, their body just starts failing them. So you can't play at what you knew. Mentally I could, but physically I couldn't perform like what I once was. In my mind, I thought I still could. I was still going to play basketball, which probably was terrible. But it's like, it sucked, though, because I was like, what do I do? Like, what is life? All I know at this time is football. Yeah, I got a degree from Elon. Don't really know what I'm going to do with this sport and event management degree at that time. I think it's just sport management now. But it's like, what do I do? So I get into sales. That really wasn't for me, but I was around sports still. Like, I was trying to sell, like, apparel and stuff to high schools and middle schools. So that was pretty cool. But that didn't last long because I was like, yeah, this is not it. Back in my mind, I always wanted to be an athletic director. So, like, if I want to be an athletic director, I got to get in at a college. Like, I got to get in college athletics somehow. So, long story short, I moved back home to Sanford from Charlotte. I started working at my after-school program, becoming a site coordinator. So that got me education, which I never thought I'd work with kids because I can't stand little kids. Like, I like being around little kids, but working with little kids, I'm like, it's no way possible. But I did it, and it was fun. And that opened the door to me becoming a high school AD at a private Christian school in my hometown. And so that kind of jump-started me into the process of being an AD, and which was cool because I knew certain parts of being an athletic director and then certain parts I didn't. And in high school, AD is very more political than it is on the college level, as I've learned now, which is fine because you meet people, you meet parents and you bond with the kids. And it's like, to me, it's like you do everything you do for the kids. And kind of like in college athletics, like everything you do is to better these young men and women. But then 2021, 2020 was COVID, so I got into the Hall of Fame during COVID, but we couldn't have a ceremony because nobody could do anything. So 2021, I come back for homecoming and for my Hall of Fame induction ceremony along with the other individuals in the next class. But then Director Blank, former director AD Dave Blank, hits me up that Monday and is like, "Hey, I got a position, which I'm currently in a position now, Assistant Director of Student Athlete Services." He said, "It's under Faith. Would you be interested in coming back?" Because he knew what I wanted to be as an AD. Because I've had conversations with him from time to time, and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "All right, fill it out. It's no guarantee, but fill out the application, go through the process." So with that, I'm like, "Oh crap! Like this is real." And I'm coaching middle school girls basketball at this time, and I'm just like, I might be leaving. Here I am, an AD, a year and a half into the job now. 17 months into the job as a high school AD, trying to figure out. But in my mind, I knew I'm like, I'm going to have to go to grad school. I got to get a master's so I can get into college level administration, because it's not I can just make a jump, because I wasn't prominent enough in the NFL with the business stuff. So like I got no real cachet. So I get there, go interview. Faith Shear, who I still work for now, like she knew me from my time as a student athlete. I interviewed with other senior AD staff that knew me from my time here as a student athlete. And one of the best parts of the interview was when I talked to a former senior AD. We had Kyle Wills. He was like, he asked me a question like, "How do you know you can handle this?" And I kind of gave him a detail like all my responsibilities that I was as a singular AD at this school. Like I really had no help other than parents, but those are volunteers. He's like, I don't know if I can cuss on your platform, but to quote him, he was like, "Oh, SH, whatever." He's like, "Well, if you can handle that, Merle, you can do this. This is going to be nothing." And so, but hearing it from him, because like I was scared of Kyle when I was a student athlete. Like I didn't want nothing to do with Kyle. Like he was terrifying to me. But to me, him giving me a vote of confidence, like, yeah, you can do this job. Like that was really all I needed. And then like a week later, Faith calls me up. She's like, "Hey, I'm on the road with volleyball right now. Let me know if you can't hear me." But he said, "But I want to offer you the job." And I was like, "Stop playing." She's like, "Yeah, no, I'm offering you the job." Because sometimes I got to hear it twice for truly make it believable. And I was like, cool. But at the same time, I'm about to go set myself up for a position on the college level. But here I got these young seniors and juniors in high school and some middle schoolers that look up to me because I'm Coach Mellette. I'm Aaron. I'm helping them be better. They're coaching me. And I had to tell a group of, young ladies and their parents, like, the first to hear, like, "Hey, I'm going to be leaving." That's why I was late to our first game. I was going to interview to go back to my alma mater. And it hurt because I cried with them because these young kids trusted me and their parents trusted me. I'm kind of about to tear up now thinking about it. But it's like that's how much they meant to me, because anywhere I go and I invest my time in, that person or that group of people will mean a lot to me. And I want to see them succeed, and I want to help them succeed, because I want kids to experience what I experienced as an athlete, to achieve all these things, to get a free opportunity to go to college for free with a scholarship, like get all these awards, because you only get it once in your life. And like it's an amazing feeling, because I remember the journey my parents had with it. They loved it, and my family members loved it, my friends loved it. And so, but I was like, but what I knew what I had to do to get to the college ranks to hopefully one day become a college AD, I had to leave there. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. Even my head of school, my boss at the time, I got his seal of approval to make sure he was cool with me doing it. But he was like, "Man, I'm not going to hold you back." So doing that, getting my master's now through Elon. But it was a stepping stone I needed. But those lessons from being in the high school and how hard that was, coming back and working what I do now, Assistant Director of Student Athlete Services, and helping with like different development programs and helping these kids do community service, like it was all I needed, because like it wasn't tougher than that. Like I know what I do. I work longer hours because we got more teams. But I'm like, man, I was a single AD at this time. This is nothing. I got all these resources, and I enjoyed it. But the part I enjoy more is being back around student athletes on the college level, my peers. Because to me, you're a Division I athlete, Division II athlete, Division III athlete. We have something in common. We play sports. Even if you're an NAIA person, you're not leaving them out. Like, we play sports at a collegiate level. And my thought is your mindset should be similar to mine to want to be great. And so when I came back here, I oversee Student Athlete Advisory Council with our student athletes. So I just get around, start talking to some of the athletes. I get part of Leadership Academy. Start talking to athletes. I'm like, how are they wired? That's what I need to ask. I haven't been around the college athletes other than the football guys that may have reached out to me about the football process, but those guys have been gone. And I'm just like, yo, what's your mindset? Like, how do you, like, when you compete, like, what do you think? Because I want to know, like, are they wired to win? Because I want to see Elon be successful. I want all these kids to be successful in championships. Do y'all think like I thought when I was here? Which, obviously, it's a different generation. They probably don't. They show it in a different way. But at the same time, I'm like, some of the stuff I did where I didn't cut corners, I don't think y'all should cut those corners. Like, to be the best, with some of our teams' history have been more successful than others since my time here. But I was like, I want them all to be successful. But we got to buy into it. And so now I enjoy those conversations with the different athletes that I do build a relationship with, and not a mentor, but just a relationship, just to talk to them about life and talk about sports. I'm like, hey, man, this is what you got to do. Because I want to come back in a decade or 20 years from now and see y'all in y'all Hall of Fame class. Like, see what I'm talking about? Like, if you do this, like, your name is going to get etched in the record books here. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to be one of the best to ever do it. And if you're not trying to be the best to ever do it, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, I'm sure, Chase, you want to be probably one of the best sport broadcasters or podcast people out in America. Like, if you're not, I'm like, why you want to do the podcast then? Like, it's not like you doing Rising Phoenix. Like, I want y'all to be the best athletic extension. Cause I know y'all know athletics, but I don't know how it really works. But y'all are part of us. So I'm like, I want y'all to be the best out there. Like, how can y'all make this thing get even bigger and better? But if that ain't what you're trying to do, then I would be like, well, what you doing this for? Type of mentality. So that's the same stuff I think about myself, these athletes. Like, we out here playing, like, what we playing for? Like, yes, you're going to get your education. No knock on that. I got a job in athletics because college athletes exist. So most coaches keep their job because of winning. So I'm like, I talk to them like, we have an obligation to be our best for not only yourself, your family, and the fans, but like for your coaches, because they believe in you. Because if you're on a scholarship, they're giving you money to come here, maybe for free or partially. But then I'm like, his kids who are walk-ons, that's your teammates, that's paying their way to come here. So I can't let them outwork me, even though if they do, they do, or they're better than me, they do, because, you only got so much money to go around. But it's like, if they're just as dedicated to my craft as I am, like, do I give my scholarship to them because they want it more than I do? But that's just me, not as an administrator. That's just me as a competitive athlete when I'm thinking, like, why should you let them outwork you? Like, you're paying the way. Like, I wouldn't want nobody to outwork you. And if I come out this week and somebody say, yeah, I work harder than Chase, I'm like, what? Like, I haven't heard you. I haven't talked to you yet. Why are you outworking Chase? Because I think he's phenomenal at what he does. Dr. Walker speaks highly of him. So that's my mindset. And I'm like, I don't know if that's transferable to these athletes, but if they have a conversation with me, I think they're going to feel that energy and be like, oh, I see why his name is in the record books here. I see why he was able to accomplish what he accomplished, because you can't do it if you're just fine with being okay, or if you're just fine with, it is what it is, just another day I'm here as an athlete. I'm about to get this master's or this biology degree or this business degree. Like, yeah, that's cool, but it's like my mindset translates to the real world. Because if you think athletics you get to the business world, if you're a business major, like that's a cutthroat business. Like, people are always trying to advance. And if you're not trying to be the CEO of a company, and this is like, you don't want to be your own boss. Everybody wants to be their own boss. So, but it's like, it's a process of mindset that starts. As an athlete, you get an advantage because you're thrust in more competitive environments earlier on. So you can develop it a whole lot easier than somebody who's not thrust into a competitive environment until they get to the actual workforce of corporate world or whatever profession they're in.
The episode before this was with Ivana McGill, and I told her the exact same thing, where I was like, I hope you don't rule out a coaching career at some point, or at least getting back to that. And then as we start to wrap up here, the one question I had was, and you touched on it a little bit, but what is the best part about your job? Is it connecting with the current student athletes and being able to have those conversations? You also work with a lot of your former teammates, Sean Jeffcoat, Dr. Walker. So what about your job and your role has been the most fulfilling during your time back at Elon?
Oh, it's definitely the connecting with the student athletes. I mean, obviously a lot of them I have not, it's 400-something of them. I haven't interacted with all of them. But the SAC group I get to interact with, which is like 36 of them, maybe give and take. That, to me, has been so far the best part of my job. I love that SAC group. It changes every year because people graduate, new athletes come on. So it changes, but, like, that's my chance to really get to talk to them and get to know them and say, like, hey, what can we do to make this place better? Because Dr. Rock, though, I think he said on his episode, like, he was the SAC president. So, like, a lot of changes he probably did at the time, like, he never saw the benefit of them, but the athletes that came after us did. And that's why I always start my meeting off with these young men and women, like, hey, you get the chance to set the tone for 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now because they're asking you y'all opinions. So if anytime we got to do something or somebody wants to come in and meet with us as a focus group, you got to be here because you're going to shape it for the next group of kids that come after you. But that's been the best part. And I mean, I got to been around Bo Sanders. Me and Bo went to a SAC leadership summit in VA last summer. He sat in the car with me for basically 6 hours. He got to pick my brain like you got to pick my brain, or people are going to get to hear and ask me what was it that made me great. And that helped me and Bo's relationship. You know, I'll tell him now, like, I was accredited for his last pick six against, I think it was Hampton we played. Like, I told him, like, hey, you're doing this a little too fast. Give it another split second. In the next series, he goes out there, and it boom, something happens. He picks it off pick six. And I'm like, see what I tell you? Listen to me. Like, I'm not, you know, but I can do football because I play football. Like, I'm not going to tell a soccer athlete how to do what they do. I'm definitely not going to tell no cross-country runner to do what they do because you ain't going to never get me running more than a mile. So there, you know, and I can't golf. But, like, for football, basketball, like, you know, but all our mindsets should be wired the same, and that's how you connect. So that's why if an athlete hears Jacka Joyner Kersey talk with our track team, got to hear, like, I was like, yo, this is Jacka Joyner Kersey. I got nothing in common with her other than her mindset of wanting to be the best at what she did. And I can relate that. And that's what, to me, that's what connects athletes, but that's what connects us to other people in this world is, like, what's your mindset? If our mindsets are similar, people are going to want to be around you. And that's the best part is hanging with these 30-something individuals. That's why I took joy listening to Carolina and Lily's part. I missed them at our SAC meetings, but they're enjoying their time. It was the DR. You know, they're enjoying their time there. And I'm like, man, you know, I know they probably wish they was working. If I could go to study abroad back then, I definitely would have did the study abroad. Like, I wouldn't have cared about practice. I would have been out. Like, yeah, I'm about to go to DR. I'm about to enjoy myself and dive into the worlds of education in the Dominican Republic. Like, cool, that's what's up. But that's the part of it. But I just want all of them, especially that group, because I get to meet with them more than anybody else. Like, them in the receiver room, I want the receiver room to be successful too. But those 30-something individuals that year, like, I want them to be the best, even with cheer and dance. Like, shout out to the dance team. Hopefully they win the national championship there this week for the competition. But it's like, I want them to be the best. And it's like, if you get to be around me, I'm hoping that rubs off on you when you walk in, like a commitment to excellence. And just God, just wanting to do that to the best of our abilities, whatever that could be. I don't care if the person that's on SAC is a walk-on. I want you to be the best that you can be. And you're going to have, and thus leaving out this group in the leadership role is going to have some type of impact where you might be able to help push us over the edge to get more conference championships and becoming a powerhouse in Division I, no matter what that looks like. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for spending your time here today. I hope whoever listens can take something away, athlete or not, from your journey. But thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, Chase, for reaching out, man. Anytime you ever want me to come back, especially once football season comes around, you want to do a football recap of games, I'm down to do that.
Well, we still have to get Sean on, Jeff Coate, and maybe we get you and Doc Walk on another one, because I remember on Dr. Walker's episode, he talked about coming back as well.
Yeah, look, got to. If you get all three of us in the room, that would be just a good time.
I might not have to be here.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be a fun time. But if you get Sean on, you should ask Sean who's the best receiver between me and him and Terrell. Like, I know what he's going to say, but, like, I know he's going to say it's him. But then I look at him like, nah, it's not you, bro. It's not you. That's backing up. But it's like, it's cool because we was all three of us here at the same time. It's like, yo. Sorry, Sean. It's me, Terrell. Then it's you. Hey, mama, I think I'm better than Terrell. He'll tell you that. I think that, but he'll tell you he's better than me. But that's where we are. We competitive, and hopefully those athletes would be like, if I was an athlete now, I'd be like, man, I'm better than you, just to see how they would respond. And like, oh, you think you're better than me? Bet. Let's go prove this on the field because that makes us better. You right? So that's fun time. But definitely get Sean on here. Definitely get me and Dr. Walker, or get Dr. Walker and Sean on here. But that'd be a fun time. But man, y'all keep up the hard work, keep crushing this podcast, man. And I appreciate the platform, like the athletic department has let y'all do, especially with Jason Knable and Jacob pioneering it, man. Because it's something really cool, and I wish it was around when I played here, because I'm sure it would have been a whole lot funner stories that I could have shared with you, and then that time or recapping games and stuff, man. But just keep killing, man. You're in a perfect space, man. I wish you the best with your career.
Thank you to Aaron for joining me on this episode of the Rising Phoenix podcast. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe, follow, and like wherever you get your podcasts. Next episode will be episode 11, so we have plenty of content for you to enjoy. If you are an Elon athlete, coach, or alumni interested in being featured in a future episode of the Rising Phoenix podcast, contact Chase Strasser at cstrasser@elon.edu. That's CSTRAWSER at elon.edu. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. We're on Twitter or X at EU Rising Phoenix and on Instagram at Elon Rising Phoenix. We also now are on TikTok at Elon Rising Phoenix. New articles, graphics, and other content can be found on any of these platforms. Finally, new episodes of the podcast will premiere every other Wednesday, so check back in every few weeks for a brand new episode with an exciting new guest. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rising Phoenix podcast.